All right, welcome back for another edition of figuring out what's going on with tariffs on cars. We are once again joined by Erin Keating and Sean Tucker. Thanks for joining us to both of you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Sean, I want to kick it to you first here. So we've been living with these tariffs for a little bit, and I don't really know how it's affecting the customer right now. What is going on with where the tariffs currently are?
The big thing to keep in mind is that while the headlines are changing rapidly, the situation on the ground for car shoppers is not. The White House did slightly soften up the tariffs a little bit yesterday, but I don't think you're going to see major impacts to prices on that for quite some time. They're still going up.
Okay. And Erin, what do we think is going to happen maybe in the longer term or what's coming? And can you decipher these muddy waters that we're staring at?
Yeah, I mean, again, first and foremost, let's remember that most of our automaker friends have said that they're going to hold on MSRP for the foreseeable future, into May, some even as late as into June. So that tells me that most of the automakers are trying to really get their heads wrapped around what the cost is here to them, and that way they can then determine how they're going to bring that cost potentially to consumers. We don't yet know that it will be an immediate impact to consumers. The last tariff updates from President Trump yesterday did start to quote unquote soften the parts that are going in, the parts tariffs that are going into effect on Saturday, May 3rd. What it really did, maybe for the vehicles that are manufactured in the US, was potentially reduce the cost to the automaker by about 50%. So if you remember in the beginning of all this, we were thinking that a vehicle that was assembled in the US might still be submitted to about $3,000 worth of costs because they still are importing parts to create those assembled vehicles. That might go down to about 1,500. But the challenge we're really going to see, and this is what consumers need to keep an eye on, is that this really only exempted automakers from the tariff. It doesn't necessarily exempt suppliers directly, nor does it necessarily exempt those that are importing parts to repair and maintain your current vehicles. So those tariffs are still at 25%, still coming in on May 3rd, in theory.
Sean, have you seen any adjustments to supply and demand or time on lot right now with the cars that are out there?
Absolutely. We're seeing that the inventory is starting to shrink as people are buying up the supply of cars. Every automaker has a certain supply of cars that they imported at pre-tariff prices. And so there's a subset of buyers that are in a hurry to get those before the post-tariff prices kick in. And that's happening, and that's why we're starting to see prices gradually tick up. I would also add, though, that we don't think the changes are done. So I would just encourage shoppers, you don't necessarily need to pay attention to the headlines day by day. This impacts shoppers a lot more slowly than it impacts the automakers, but you are still seeing that gradual price rise.
Erin, do you think there are any automakers out there potentially hedging their bets because the tariffs came out swinging and then they seem to soften? Do you think some are sitting back and maybe playing the longer game here?
I would imagine most of them are. I
Okay.
mean, what we do know about the tariffs is that it is a very widely distributed impact across OEMs or automakers and across segments and specific models. I mean, these tariffs will hit at nearly a VIN level with some of the manufacturers. So absolutely, I think all of them are working towards mid to long-term strategies and not trying to react in the short term because we don't quite know exactly what's going to happen. And the good thing for consumers that means is that we just have to remember we've got good variety and good consumer choice on the ground right now. As Sean said, we are seeing those inventory supplies starting to diminish, and which could really put some squeeze on pricing just merely from Econ 101 demand and supply, right? But the thing that I would just really encourage is that this is also a really good time for consumers to maybe broaden their aperture for which brands that they're looking at. There's a lot of great competitive products in any given segment that you're looking at. And the person that you think might be, suffering from tariff impact might not be, or the brand. And so, making sure that you're really looking across the size vehicle that you want, being flexible. And maybe it's a good time to be checking out alternative brands because there could be some deals to be had.
Hmm. So it seems like right now, more than ever, consumers should be just doing their research, and there are
Doing the
still deals
research.
to be found.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good
Absolutely.
news. All right, so I guess we will wait and see to decipher more of this news that's just coming out, but it seems like it's kind of similar position as we were before. Pay attention to what you're buying, pay attention to who it affects, and don't be so scared of all the headlines at the same time.
Absolutely.
Precisely.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining in, and thank you for clearing up what can be cleared up.
Clear as
Yeah.
mud. No problem. Take care.